How's the job going so far? California's first Latino senator.
Yeah, well, I think it's going well. Earlier in the year, I kept describing this as beyond drinking from a fire hose because of so many things happening almost simultaneously. From my transition as a California Secretary of State to the U.S. Senate office. Of course, we're still in the middle of a global health pandemic, COVID. We made, I think, important strides with the American Rescue Plan earlier this year, helping state and local governments, helping small business owners, helping a lot of working families around the country, and of course, generating the vaccines and helping distribute and administer vaccines. Things were looking good there in June, and then the Delta variant had other ideas. We've seen wildfires in Northern California, our work to get kids back in school, and these historic opportunities in terms of infrastructure investment, not just in transportation, but the electrical grid, broadband, and hopefully the care economy as well, in addition to housing, education. So there's so many things going on right now. It can be a little overwhelming at times, but I just feel blessed to be here at this time representing California. It's a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous responsibility.
And let's talk a little bit about growing up Latino, as I've often put it. What was it like growing up for you? Just knowing where you came from to where you are now.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reflecting this year, especially. Just to think what my journey has been to arrive here in the United States Senate. First and foremost, a proud son of immigrants. If you know anything about me, I'm proud of my parents who came to the United States from Mexico in the 1960s. They actually met in Los Angeles. My father was from Jalisco. My mother was from Chihuahua. They met in Los Angeles, fell in love, decided to get married, and applied for green cards in that order. And I thank the U.S. government every day for saying yes to those applications, because if they would have been denied, no doubt my life story would be a lot different. But my parents became legal residents. They got married, settled into the San Fernando Valley, and started a family. For 40 years, my father helped provide for us by working as a short order cook. And for the same 40 years, my mom used to clean houses in the wealthier neighborhoods of Los Angeles. And on those modest incomes, they raised three of us. I have an older sister who's been in education her entire career. I have a younger brother who's a chief of staff to the city council president in Los Angeles. So we're all in public service, and that's not really a coincidence. I mean, of the two things my parents consistently emphasized was the importance of getting a good education and constantly finding ways to serve others. But I'll also be honest, growing up, I never imagined, never thought of, never dreamed of being involved in politics, let alone running for office, and certainly never serving in the United States Senate. But I remember being home from college in 1994 when Proposition 187 was on the ballot in California. And just as I was, getting ready to start my career, proud of my degree in mechanical engineering from MIT, proud of making my parents proud because all they wanted was for me to get a good education, have a good career. To hear from political figures at the time that, if California is struggling, it's the fault of immigrants, fault of Latinos, it was offensive. And so that's what moved me from, my engineering trajectory to getting involved in politics and government, and worked as a staffer, helped manage some campaigns before I ever even ran for office. And to think that some 25 years later, I now get to represent California in the United States Senate, the first Latino to represent California in the United States Senate. I know that is not just sort of an American dream come true for me, but so representative of so many working families, so many immigrant families with equally big dreams and equally strong work ethic.
How has the idea of what a role model is for the modern day Latino changed since you were young? Do you feel like it's the same kind of role model you were looking up to, or do you feel like it's different now?
It's as I stop and think about it, I think it's similar in terms of having that sense of responsibility. You know, Latinos today represent nearly 40% of the state population in California. And if you look across the country, we are the single biggest driver of our nation's population growth. But unfortunately, we're not properly represented. Certainly not in decision-making tables in the public sector side, at the federal level, the state level, the local level, you know, as a percentage of the population. But you can make the same argument in the corporate setting, in academia, et cetera. So we still have work to do as a community to make sure that we are taking our rightful place of leadership. You know, but it doesn't just come automatic. You got to earn it. And so I remember growing up, right? Who were those Latino role models who can help you dream big, who can help you have a vision of what you can be when you grow up? Not as many in the political arena at the time as there are today. But it's also important to recognize that just running for office and getting elected to office in any capacity, while that's a milestone to be celebrated, the only way we continue to advance is by doing the job itself and doing it well, right? So I remember my first campaign for city council when, in addition to getting the blessing from my parents and my family, talking to my padrino, my uncle, and getting his blessing to run for office. And then he wasn't able to be with us on election night because he was sick. So I went to go see him the next day. And as excited as I was, I had just been elected to the city council. He was just cool, calm, and collected. And he congratulated me, but then tells me in Spanish, "Bueno, hijo, ahora hay que cumplir," right? Congratulations, but now you got to do the work, right? All the things you ran on, all the things you promised, now it's time to deliver. And that lesson has stuck with me ever since. Because again, when you're the first Latino to do something, that's an important milestone to be celebrated, like I said, but more importantly is what you do with that opportunity. The only way people's lives get better is if I'm able to deliver on what we set out to do. And, you know, once upon a time, it was filling potholes, covering graffiti, and trying to fund more park programs in my community. And now it's all the big picture items for California and the nation. Investing in infrastructure, tackling climate change, expanding access to healthcare, and of course, immigration reform.
In light of Hispanic Heritage Month that's going on right now, seeing so many of these firsts happen, how do you react to it right now?
You know, I think there's a few things that come to mind when we consider all these firsts. Yes, it's important to recognize the milestone for individuals and for the community more broadly. But other people may be asking, well, congratulations, but why did it take so long? Right? California's been around for a long time, and to think, you know, the first Latino this, the first Latino that. Well, that notwithstanding, we have the opportunity now, and given everything going on in California, around the country, and around the world, I think the sense of purpose and urgency is there to do these jobs well, whether it's a better and more equitable response to the COVID-19 pandemic, from a health perspective and an economic perspective. The urgency with which we need to tackle climate is another one. Or yes, even the urgency with which we need to bring about better working conditions, better pay, safety for agricultural workers, and put the many immigrants, documented and undocumented, on a pathway to citizenship. You know, I think agricultural workers are a perfect example. They've been essential to the state and to the nation for a long time. But it wasn't until this COVID pandemic that they were recognized by the federal government, by the Department of Homeland Security, as essential. Well, if they're truly essential, then we need to treat them as such. And for those that have been here undocumented for years and years and years, working, paying taxes, maybe raising families, they deserve to be able to live without fear of deportation. And they deserve to have a pathway to citizenship.
What exactly does it mean when we talk about Latino leadership? When we look at the sphere like that, the difference between just being a leader and a Latino leader for you?
For me, it means a few things. Number one, representation matters. For all the young Latino girls and boys out there who may be told you can be anything you want to be, and maybe there's an idea of going into public service, but it's something they couldn't relate to at the highest levels before. If I'm able to make those dreams a little bit clearer for them and maybe a little bit more reality for them, then I think that's a part of the responsibility I have, not just by being in this position, but by how I serve. And so my conduct, my leadership, my track record, I think is an important part of that leadership as well. And bringing, our community's stories to the deliberations of the United States Senate. Right, it's one thing to tackle education access, but for me to be able to talk about what the experience is for Latino students in California, among others, I think it's an important voice to have here. Or what the COVID-19 pandemic means for Latinos, the communities that have been hit the hardest by the coronavirus. That's important. And certainly from a personal perspective, to be able to engage in the debate around immigration reform as the proud son of immigrants. So it's adding more perspective, maybe adding more flavor, and I hope there's better policy that comes as a result.